Humanitarno udruženje El Iman organizira distribuciju kurbana u 11 zemalja svijeta. Humanitarno udruženje El Iman, naša djeca, naša budućnost. Donirajte svoj kurban danas.
Doktor Mahathir bin Mohamad, vaša ekscelencijo, ja sam došao u Maleziju da vam kažem hvala. Hvala za sve što ste uradili za moju zemlju, Bosnu i Hercegovinu.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Došao sam da vam kažem da želim vama i vašoj supruzi Tun Siti Hasma dobro zdravlje.
Thank you.
U ratu, u mojoj emisiji Centralni dnevnik na državnoj televiziji Bosne i Hercegovine, ja sam rekao 23. jula 1995. godine o vama i Maleziji. Malezija, za koju sigurno mnogo Bošnjaka, bosanskih muslimana, nije ni znala da je islamska zemlja, sada tako otvoreno pomaže našoj zemlji. Šta ste znali o nama? Zašto ste nam pomagali i otvoreno nudili pomoć? Nama, koji o vama nismo mnogo znali.
But I have read about Bosnia and Herzegovina in history books. Of course, I didn't know much about it. But then one group of Bosnians came here, and that was before the Serbs attack. And they told me about the situation in Bosnia. So I felt very sympathetic towards their plight. So I thought that, well, these are our brothers also, our brothers and sisters. And I think, number one, as a human being, I always have sympathy for those people who are oppressed. And of course, and they happen to be Muslims also. I didn't know they were European Muslims before. I thought they were all Turks. But if they are Muslims, then as a Muslim brother, I feel bound to help, even if I don't know.
Vi ste nam nastavili pomagati nakon rata. Poslali ste investitore u našu zemlju, pokrenuli velike projekte, vi ste nam lično dolazili. Ali kao da je to nekako stalo. Ja mislim da smo krivi mi, Bosanci. Mi koji nismo shvatili da ste vi i Malezija naši iskreni prijatelji. Mi koji nismo shvatili da vi znate kako se pravi ekonomsko čudo.
Well, we have done fairly well in Malaysia, and we feel that it is our duty to help others also. We have a slogan called "Prosper your neighbor." Help your neighbor to become prosperous, because then when they are prosperous, they create less problem, and also we can trade with them if they are prosperous. If they are poor, we cannot trade with them, because Malaysia is a trading nation. So we want to see everybody prosper, and if we can help, of course, we should help. And this is basically humanitarian. When other human beings are suffering, other people who are living well should help the people who are suffering, so that they can also enjoy a good life.
Malezija i Bosna i Hercegovina moraju da pojačaju ekonomsku, političku, svaku saradnju. Kako? Šta je vaš savjet nama? Šta mi treba da uradimo? Šta Malezija za nas može da uradi?
Well, in our experience, we were before an agricultural country. Agriculture doesn't create many jobs. Our people were growing in numbers, and many people were unemployed. So we believe that if we have industries, industries employ more people, but then we don't have any capital, any expertise in manufacturing. So we invited foreign investors to come into this country and start industries which use a lot of workers, labor. So that way there was a reduction in unemployment and people became more prosperous. So this is our experience, and we want to transfer that experience to other countries so that they will also become prosperous by opening up the country for foreign investment, mainly in job-creating industries dependent upon labor. So we reduce the unemployment problem for that country, and they become prosperous, like us also.
Šta naši BiH političari trebaju da urade za našu zemlju, Bosnu i Hercegovinu? Vi ste čovjek koji sigurno zna recept spasa za nas.
So to speak for us, for our country.
First, you must make yourself friendly towards investors. If you have investors in your own country, your own people can invest, you have to help them. But if you don't have local investors, domestic investors, then you have to open up the country for foreign investors. And you must have laws and policies which are friendly towards foreign investors. We did the same in Malaysia. We don't tax them. They can come here, do business, create jobs, but their profit they can take for themselves. So that's why they come to Malaysia, because they can have labor which is lower than in Europe, and they, at the same time, because they invest here, they help us to become prosperous.
Malezija i Bosna i Hercegovina su multikulturalne i multireligijske zemlje. Veoma smo slični, ali na našu žalost naš zajednički, tradicionalni život je razrušen ratom. Kako je Malezija sačuvala zajednički život više religija i kultura? I kako da Bosna i Hercegovina obnovi taj život?
Well, normally when there are too many people of different races, there will always be conflict. There will always be tension in the society. So we decided in Malaysia that everyone should have some share based on their ability. So we have Chinese, Indians, and Malays here. We also have natives, tribal races. We bring them all into the government. So everyone has a say in the government. And what the government decides is something that will be beneficial for all the different communities. So that way we can work together. If we don't work together, we confront each other. The country becomes unstable, nobody will invest, and there will be no jobs. That's the problem.
Bili ste premijer tako dugo, 20 godina. 22 godine. Kakva je bila politička i ekonomska situacija u Maleziji kada ste postali premijer?
Well, when I became Prime Minister, the work of industrializing the country was already on. The policy was there to attract foreign investors and local investors. But when I became Prime Minister, I helped to remove bureaucratic procedures, make it very easy for people to invest money in Malaysia. And in many cases, foreign investment, we don't tax them. They come, they can make a profit and send back their profit to their own country. What we are interested in is that they create jobs for our people. And when you create jobs for the people, then of course people become more prosperous. That is how we prosper the country.
Pod vašim vodstvom Malezija je doživjela ekonomski procvat i zbog toga je nazvana azijskim tigrom. Šta je tajna vašeg uspjeha?
First thing, the country must be stable. Politically, it must be stable. It must have a strong government, and it must have a policy that is contributing towards that stability. We don't want to have racial clashes and fighting between the different races. So people feel sure that if you put money into this country, they will get returns from that money. So because of that, they come. But if the country is not stable, always there is some demonstration, fighting and all that, nobody will put money. And when people do not invest, the economy cannot grow.
Velika ekonomska kriza koja je pogodila jugoistočnu Aziju izazvala je financijski krah zemalja u okruženju. Međutim, Malezija je, zahvaljujući vama, uspješno izašla iz te krize. Kako je Malezija zaštitila svoj financijski i ekonomski sektor?
Well, first we had to know the cause of this economic crisis. The financial crisis actually was caused by people selling our currency and making the value of the currency to depreciate. And when the value of the currency depreciates, the cost of living goes up because we want to buy anything from outside the country, the cost is much higher. So we were told by the World Bank and the IMF to do certain things which when we study, we find that if we do those things, the condition will become worse. For example, they ask us to raise the interest rate. They ask us to declare as non-performing loans which were not serviced in 3 months. So all this advice coming from the IMF, if we follow them, the economy, the financial situation will become worse. So we decided not to follow the IMF. We studied the reasons for the crisis, and we find that is because people were selling our money. They were selling the money in the market and depreciating the value of our money. So we took action to prevent our money from being sold. Banks were not allowed to transact any buying or selling of Malaysian currency. Once we stopped that, they couldn't lower the value of our money anymore. So after that, we recovered. The crisis was caused to their lowering the value of the money. So when the currency goes down in value until it is half, everything we buy, we have to pay 2 times. So we became very poor.
Pod vašim vodstvom stvorena je vizija 2020, Dua Pulo. Kakva je to vizija? Da li Malezija i dalje ide krupnim koracima ka ispunjenju te vizije da do 2020. godine bude potpuno razvijena zemlja?
Yeah, this policy was formulated in 1990. Then we could see the country is growing. But where are we going? What do we want for this country? We want to become a developed country. We must have a good per capita income, good purchasing power for our currency. And in order to do that, we have to encourage more investments into the country. So in 1991, we announced the Vision 2020. That will give us about 30 years to grow the economy so that the per capita income reaches about $16,000 per year. At that time, the per capita income was only about $4,000. So we need to double that. So that is why we have a series of 5-year plans so as to grow the economy until by the year 2020, we would have a per capita income and purchasing power that is the same as the developed countries. That is one aspect, of course, but the standard of living and the well-being of the people will be much better.
Malezija odvaja ogroman procenat od godišnjeg budžeta za nauku, školstvo, edukaciju. Da li je to najvažniji korak ka napretku zemlje?
Certainly is very, very important. A person who has an education can do better quality of work, so he will earn a bigger income. So people who are children of farmers and fishermen, they were very poor, they couldn't afford a good education. So we give them a lot of scholarships so that they can have the same education as everybody else. And sure enough, when they become better educated, they can go right up to the university level. And they come back qualified as doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects and all that. And these people earn higher income than if they were just to be paddy farmers or fishermen. So that's why education is in order to give the people better qualification to do higher grade of work.
Your Excellency, you are one.
Vi ste jedan od najuticajnijih političara 20. stoljeća. Međutim, bili ste i vrlo kritični prema islamskim zemljama, posebno na zasjedanju organizacije Islamske konferencije. Znali ste da često kažete da ta skraćenica OIC znači OIC i ništa više od toga. Da li zbog toga danas imamo političku scenu u islamskom svijetu kakvu imamo? Naime, nema islamske zemlje u kojoj nema političke krize. Zašto?
Well, we are all Muslims, but although we call ourselves Muslim, we don't practice the teachings of Islam according to the Quran. The Quran gives a good guidance. The Quran is a guide for humankind, for the Muslims, how they should live. It's a way of life. But we don't follow. Instead of saying that all Muslims are brothers, we kill each other. We fight against each other. That is not Islamic. And instead of, Islam requires us to read. To read means to acquire knowledge. Iqra means read. If you read, you acquire knowledge. But we are not studying science, we are not studying many other subjects besides religion. And because of that, we are very backward. And we cannot develop our country if we are backward. We need knowledge. So that is why Islam asks us to acquire knowledge. Because with knowledge, then you can help yourself, even defend your own country. So if we follow the teachings as in the Quran, the Muslims will do well. But we ignore the Quran and we do things that are actually not permitted by our religion. That is why we are not progressing the way we used to progress in the past during the period of the great Muslim civilization.
Kako je nastala svjetska globalna ekonomska kriza? Zašto?
Well, the present crisis that is affecting Europe and America, this is because after their products cannot compete with the products of Japan, China, Korea because of the high prices, they decided to go into the financial market. Now, financial market is not about producing goods or giving service. It is about trading in currency or investing in currency only. And that doesn't create jobs for people. You know, you can transact worth $1 billion, but there is no jobs created in currency trading. Whereas if you go into manufacturing, you create jobs for people, you have small industries to support you. But this currency trading doesn't create jobs. And very soon, they were lending money to people who could not pay. And when these people, the banks do not receive any payment, they get into trouble, they go bankrupt. So the problem is they abuse the system of banking and financial business to make more money for themselves, but in the process, the system collapses because it is an abuse of the system, not following the system.
Kako svijet može da izađe iz te krize?
Well, when you lose money, you become poor. So now you have to work harder in order to become rich again. But you know, European workers are paid very high salary, but productivity is very low. Whereas the Koreans, Japanese, the Chinese, their salary is low, but productivity is very high. So their products can compete with the European products, and they will win. So the thing to do is to ensure that the cost of producing goods and services in Europe must be lowered so that it can compete with the Asian products. Until they do that, they cannot come out of this crisis.
What do you think, Your Excellency?
Šta će se dešavati u budućnosti? Nastavak ratova, još veći ratovi, još veće ekonomske krize?
Well, Europe went to war 2 times, First World War and Second World War. During that war, 70 million more people were killed. So the Europeans find that war is very bad for them. So now for the past 55 years, 60 years, they have not fought against each other in Europe. Unfortunately, they fight against Arabs, they want to strangle Iran and other countries, and they are in confrontation with China. That is not right, because the 2 world wars were fought in order to prevent wars from being used in order to make a success of your policy. That's why the wars were fought, to stop wars. The fighting was to stop wars. The war stopped in Europe, but in other countries there is still war.
Šta radite, Vaša ekscelencijo? Kako živite? Vidim, ovo što radite sigurno nije penzija, zasluženi odmor. Zašto tako mnogo radite i o svemu brinete?
Well, I see sometimes wrong things being done, and which will damage the country. So as a citizen, I must also point out what is wrong, so that the mistakes are not repeated. So my duty now is just actually to criticize what is happening in the government.
2005. godine iz vaših ruku dobio sam nagradu Internacionalne lige humanista, zlatnu plaketu humanosti Linus Pauling. Veoma sam ponosan na tu nagradu i veoma ponosan što ste mi je vi uručili. U vašem životu mnogo puta ste nagrađeni, primili ste dosta nagrada. Kako se osjećate zbog toga, Vaša ekscelencijo?
Well, it is good to be recognized for having done something good. I appreciate that, and I feel greatly honored that people should give me awards for the work I have done. It's very satisfying.
I see here you have many awards. Imate 7 djece, Vaša ekscelencijo.
Marina, Mirzan, Melinda, Mohzani, Mukhris, Maizura and Mazhar.
Sva njihova imena počinju sa slovom M. Je li to samo slučajnost i čija je ideja bila da ih tako nazovete?
My father. My father named all his male children with the letter M. My eldest brother was Murad, the next one was Mustafa, the third one was Mahdi, the fourth one was Mashho, and I'm Mahathir. So he somehow or rather chose M. So I just continued the tradition.
M kao Malezija ili...
Yeah, maybe. But M is, I use M for all my children.
My father is Mohamad.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
But only his name is M.
Do you have any intention
Kada ćete nam opet doći u našu zemlju?
Again and when if our politicians
Ako vas ne zovu političari, pozivam vas ja, moja televizija, da budete naš gost i gost našeg naroda.
Thank you. I would like to go again.
Tun Dr. Mahathir, thank you for
Tun Dr. Mahathir, hvala vam što ste govorili za Face TV, hvala što ste razgovarali sa mnom, hvala još jednom što ste pomogli našoj zemlji i narodu kada nam je bilo najteže. Ovdje sam da vam kažem, mi nikada nećemo zaboraviti koliko ste vi i vaša zemlja pomogli nama, našoj zemlji. Nadam se da ćemo imati čast da vas vidimo ponovo, uskoro u Bosni i Hercegovini. Naš narod bi volio da vas uskoro ponovo vidi.
Thank you, thank you. Inshallah, I will go one day.
Hvala vam, vaša ekscelencijo, na ovom razgovoru.
You're welcome.